Hello beautiful people, and welcome to my first ever Patreon tutorial. Today we are making a leaf print incense holder. So let's just jump straight in, and you are going to need a nice fuzzy leaf. This is really important to get a really nice leaf print in your clay. Next, of course, you need your Airdry clay, any brand that you would prefer. You're also going to need a rolling pin or something that you can roll the clay, a sponge, a paintbrush, and some basic pottery tools. Now, I have all of these kinds of items listed in my Amazon storefront, so if you want to go check that out and see what you need or what you can get your hands on, it's all there. Now, you're also going to need some water, and you'll want your sponge to be damp but not wet. Now, another important part of this is having a good work surface, and I would always suggest getting either a wooden board, a raw wooden board that doesn't stick to the clay, or some cotton cloth of some kind. You could use a pillowcase, you can use canvas, it's totally up to you, but it is very important you don't use paper because it will stick. It's time to roll out the clay, so basically just go in and try to roll out the clay as evenly as possible, and the best way to do that is to constantly move your clay around. Swap sides, turn it over, roll, and just slowly take your time to roll out the clay so it's nice and even and flat. Now you can also see me just wobbling it around, and that also will stretch the clay out. So just taking your time, rolling, flipping, moving it around, and this is exactly why we want a good work surface that we can pull the clay up off of without it sticking at all. Now you just change the directions of the roller as well if you don't want to constantly move around your clay. That's another useful tip as well. Now I'm just going in with a wet sponge to just smooth over my clay. I really want that top surface to be nice and smooth and not have any lumps or bumps or cracks or just any real texture to it, because we want the leaf's impression to really stand out. So just going through, taking your time, and really getting that surface really nice and even. Okay, so obviously now we are going to place down our leaf, and if it has a long stem on it, you really want to chop that down as much as possible because it can kind of dig in too deep. But you really want to place it carefully. Make sure you've got the bottom of the leaf facing down so all the veins and all the detail is getting rolled in. Now when you're rolling this in, I really want you to do it lightly. It does look like I'm pushing quite hard, but I'm not. I'm really just letting the roller do the work and pushing down just enough to get that print into the clay. And I just go through with my fingers and feel and make sure that it's evenly pushed into the clay and that we're getting a really nice print. Okay, so this here are my cutting tools. You could use a knife in your kitchen, or you can just use this tool. They often come in your beginner pottery kits. This one here has the knife on the end of it, and I am going to go around and do about a centimeter border around my leaf. I'm not going to cut directly around the edge of the leaf because this edge is actually going to work as a border to the leaf. So I will, after this, be pinching it up and creating a kind of bowl-like effect. Now once you've finished cutting, make sure you go through and remove the excess clay nicely. Just take your time. You don't want to be ripping, you want to make sure you've got a nice clean cut because you don't want to be having to spend too much time cleaning up those edges. Squish that clay back together and put it into an airtight bag and seal it for later, or some plastic, just so it stays nice and moist and you can reuse it later on. Okay, it is time to go around the edge and follow the edge of the leaf and pinch up the sides to create that bowl effect I was talking about earlier. You want to be slightly pulling it off the edge there, not bending the leaf too much. You don't want to bend it too much. You don't want to bend your clay too much. We're just gently going around and pinching and making a nice edge around the leaf. It's really important you take your time on this step and don't pull it up too aggressively. Work slowly with the clay. It doesn't like to be bent too harshly because that can cause cracking and all sorts of issues. So just slowly, and if you need to, use your sponge, your damp sponge. I cannot reiterate this enough. It doesn't like a lot of water. You just want a nice damp sponge that is going to rehydrate that clay and allow for you to really smooth it over without it losing too much shape and structure and strength, I suppose. Now, while I've got you here and am showing you in real time how I do this, I do want to thank you for coming and joining me for this tutorial. I get asked this question all the time, if you can make my leaf print plates with Airdry clay, and I thought it was just the perfect excuse to show you guys that yes, you can and how to do it. So I'm very excited to be sharing this process with you in real time without my little magic tricks that I use on my social media. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and I will be having a lot more, so make sure that you join up and we can keep creating together. Okay, now if you're a textural person like me, this clay is not fun on your hands. It's very like drying. So make sure you have a cloth or something to, if you do wet your hands, you can dry it off. Now you can see here I'm coming in with my paintbrush, and this is just to kind of smooth down all the edges here. You can see I'm kind of overlapping on that leaf, and basically it's just making sure there's a nice consistent really smooth edge around this leaf. It's going to make a big difference when you are going to be painting or decorating this in the future. So now that you've finished doing your edges, I am going to be making a little snail to be sitting at the base of the leaf here that is going to hold the incense. So grab out a small piece of clay, and you're just going to split it up into two small pieces, and the first one is going to be the body, and then the next piece you're going to roll out into a much longer coil, is what we would call this, and this is going to be wound up and turned into the snail shell. Now, when you're rolling, you can do it in your hand, but it can become uneven. So I do suggest using the table or your bench or cloth and just taking your time and working across the clay and really evenly rolling it out to get a nice long coil there. And just slowly wrapping it around to give that cute little snail shell. It is important to note that no, you do not need to do anything special to join these pieces of clay together. They should just stick to each other, and now you can wrap it around and join it to the body that you've made. Now, you didn't need to do anything special for the shell, but I will suggest that you push these two pieces together really gently, and then go in with a sculpting tool and join the body and the shell together really, really gently. And that's just like a sweeping motion, so pulling some of the clay either way. So you can see a bit better here, pulling it down so it's actually joining on to the bottom of the snail there, and just smoothing it out. And this will just really help it to stick together, no cracking, and yeah, just adding some water on your paintbrush just to smooth out where you've gone through there and joined the two pieces together. Now, once your snail is all ready to be joined onto your leaf, put it to the side, and we are not going to remove this leaf quite yet. When the clay is really wet like this, you can pull the leaf off and actually lose a lot of the detail. And it can bend the clay, which it will remember, and as it dries, it can bend and warp. So what I'm doing here is just going in where this stem is and pulling it out just enough to kind of cut off that end bit so I can add on the snail without affecting the leaf print so much. Now we want to add like clay to like clay, and what that means is you can't have the snail dry and the clay leaf wet. So essentially both bits of clay need to be almost the same hydration. Otherwise, they will dry at different rates and they will crack and they won't stick together. Okay, I've changed angles so I can show you a bit better what I'm doing here. And I'm just using this sharp kind of scalpel tool that comes in my pottery kit to come through and just cut down this top bit of the leaf. I just want enough space that I can get in there and put my little snail in. So you can see that there's enough space now for me to go in. Now, before I do that, I want to kind of make sure I've got the right surface to place it onto. So I'm just going to create enough space to wedge it in between those two grooves that are created naturally by that leaf. And then I'm going to use this tool, this pointy tool. I can't even remember what it's called, but we're going to then scratch the surface of both the leaf and the snail. And what this is going to create is kind of like a nice rough surface that is going to help it stick together. I'm just putting water down, and so that rough surface just kind of creates a bit of friction. And you're just going to place it in there and push it in, and then once again go through, and like when we joined the shell to the body of the snail, we're going to join these other pieces of clay together too. And that bit of moisture dries out will pull those two pieces of clay together and really help it solidify and create a really nice strong bond. We're kind of creating like a glue like effect there. So just going through very gently, taking our time, being really patient, and just remembering to pull both ways. We're creating a really nice join there. Okay guys, time for the fun part. We are going to take the leaf off. I would let this dry for not too long, but long enough to kind of come in and know that this is ready to be pulled off without bending the clay too much. Now, because I cut into my leaf structurally, it's not as great, but you can see that it still is leaving that perfect print. It's just breaking up a little bit as I peel it off because I cut into it. Now, if you've got little bits around the edges like I do here, that's totally fine. We're going to come back in with that really nice pointy tool and just slowly take those pieces off. We don't want them on the clay. We don't want to let this piece dry with the leaf on there, because as it dries, it shrinks, and the shrinkage and with those veins and different things on there, it can actually crack your piece. Okay? So it's really important not to let it just dry onto your clay. It will not work. It will destroy all of your hard work. So yes. Now here I am making the lovely hole for the incense to go into. Now you want to make this hole as big as you can without being ridiculous, obviously, because you want it to be bigger than what an incense stick would be because of the clay shrinkage once again. So I'm just kind of swiveling it around and making sure I just support that snail while I do it, so I don't pull away that really nice join that we created when we joined it on. And that there is going to be your little holder, and you have an amazing little leaf print snail incense burner. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. I will be uploading part 2 on how to finish this next week. In the meantime, make sure you let this piece dry nice and slowly. If you need to cover it with some plastic so it doesn't crack, that would be great. Otherwise, I will see you next week and we will finish this beautiful piece. All right. Thank you. Bye.